Hi there, everyone. It's Angela here. Go ahead and guide us on a new lab for the week. And when you're using ArcGIS Pro, remember that the navigation in terms of the differences with ArcGIS Map are quite significant when it comes to managing and handling data. So, for example, there are times when sometimes we can start without a template, we can start with a map. Most times, the way ArcGIS Pro works is in projects, especially when we're in the learning stages. So that's why you'll notice that many times we start with opening up another project. So, where you're going to go ahead and get started is you're going to click open another project. And then what you're going to do is I have sent you the data file. And that data file is regards to health services. And that health, it's going to be a zipped file. So what you'll notice is that you're going to navigate to, I've called mine GIS tutorial data. You can go ahead and navigate to whatever file, you can call it your GIS, 202 data file. You can click on that. And then you're going to go ahead and navigate to this health study here. And you're going to notice that within the health study, there are going to be quite a few files. So the way that now ArcGIS Pro really brings together ArcGIS Catalog, which is how we manage and store and manipulate and pretty much move around data. And it's going to store all of our layers, our rasters, our databases all in one place instead of separately. So you'll notice that in these project files, that's really represented here. And when you see this APRX, that stands for this is a project. So you're going to go ahead and click on that. And we're going to open this up because that's what it is we're working on a project already. You're going to notice here that we've got pretty not much going on, just a topographic map. And then when we go ahead and click on that, we don't really see anything. Now, on the right-hand side, we've got our symbology panel up and we've got our contents panel up. What I really want to see over there is our catalog. So what we can go ahead and do there is click view, and then we can go ahead and click I don't want the catalog view right now. I want the catalog pane like this. And catalog pane usually docks over on the right-hand side. If you want it to dock somewhere else, you can always move it around. And when you start clicking and dragging, and I'm holding with my right click right now, you'll notice that this pops up, this sort of like explorer tool in the middle. And then you're going to notice, like on the 4 points of the compass, you'll notice that you can also dock this catalog pane in this fashion. If you come up here and you get close to it, it's going to dock it. Well, it's supposed to. Hang on a second. I'm not doing it right. I've got to click on it. And it's going to show you the shadow of how it's going to dock that catalog pane. It's going to dock it more horizontally rather than vertically. And if you want it down there, you can go ahead and do the same thing. It really just depends on where you want it docked. You can dock it permanently as well if you'd like to. Now, the other thing that you notice is that sometimes your data files, they might not be stored in ArcGIS Pro in the catalog section. So what's another really important thing to do is to start creating these connections, these folder connections they're really vital to when you're working in a GIS, because GIS, after all, the backbone and the foundation of it, yes, these beautiful, amazing maps, but most importantly, it's the data. And the data really requires us to stay organized and to stay diligent with where we're storing all of it. So, what we can do is when it comes to catalog, we can connect whatever folder, like, say, for example, if you notice all of these folders here that I have, they're not all going to be connected into my catalog. So you can scroll down and let's say, for example, that you're storing all your GIS data, like I've said, for example, in that previous folder. You can go ahead and click on that folder where you stored that data, and you can click that folder connection. And for example, mine is stored here. And then what you're going to notice there that you've created that folder connection. So you click on folders here into the drop down. It's going to tell you, wow, yeah, Angela, you've already stored that health study specifically that we're working on, because that's what we're working on now. We clicked on that APRX, that project file. And then we've also just created a new folder connection as well here. And excuse me, you'll go ahead and notice that that health study is going to be right here because it's telling you, Angela, that's the one that you're using right now. So that's a really nice feature. So let's say, for example, that in your own computer, you have places where you want to store data. You create those connections and you don't always have to be navigating back to your computer. You can keep them right here at your fingertips because that data is really a really super, super important part of what we're doing. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take this health study here. We're going to click on it and we're going to notice that a lot of stuff pops up for us here. We're going to click on the data folder and we are going to take this US County shapefile and we're going to drag it over here. And then it becomes a part of our contents pane. It becomes a layer over here. You'll also notice that this includes a database file. This database file is not it has no spatial component. So it's just a database. That's all that it is. But it's going to be useful to us. So we're going to bring it over here. Now remember that when you bring over a file, it's not going to always give you the right color or the color that you want, for example. So, sometimes it's just going to on the fly, it could give you blue, it could give you green, it could give you, something, I don't know, different sorts of colors. Now, if you want to double click on that color. Or the other thing you can always do, I don't know, I'm an old school 90s Windows person and we were just learned to right click for everything. So right click is always great in this contents pane as well. You can always right click on honestly just about anything and you're going to find just a lot of helpful information. The other thing that ArcGIS Pro does a really good job of up here with the ribbons is that you can click on map and then you're going to have various windows that you can choose as well. So if you want to click on imagery, it's going to help you with various items that singularly you're going to be able to also find in a right click, which can be really nice. Map. All right. The other thing you'll notice is that when you double click on symbology, it automatically docks itself over here. So say you're working on the final layout portions of your map and you want to change the colors because they're just bugging you. You can go ahead and dock your symbology somewhere else. But if you really don't need it right now, it's completely fine. You can make it go away. And what do you do if you want it to come back? You just right click. And when you right click, you're going to notice lots of, so you've got your metadata for that layer, you've got your display. It's going to tell you what you're displaying. It's where we get the metadata for that information. So like I said, if you want to bring up that symbology pane again, you just double click on that symbology, or you can go ahead and right click as well, whatever suits you best. And like I said, the purple I'm not too sure about. You guys tell me what colors you would like to see that. All right. And then always know too that if you're looking at a particular layer and you're like, oh, I want to zoom to that layer, I want to see what it looks like, a right click is really the end all be all. You can find a lot for what you need. Zoom to layer. Okay, I'm zoomed on that layer. Another important button, full extent, is always important sometimes. So if you wanted to get an idea of the full extent of the map that you're looking at, and then again, if you want to take a look at a specific layer, you go ahead and click on that layer. You can right click and then, yeah, I want to zoom back to that layer. And so it's going to show you that. All right, so remember too that what we're looking at right now are shape files. What shapes are represented currently? Well, we're looking at polygons. So the nice thing is that in ArcGIS Pro, most of the time this Explore tool will be highlighted for us. When we hover over it, it's really pretty cool. It's going to remind us what we can do with our mouse. So you've got your number 1 is your left click, 2 is your scroll, and 3 is going to be your right click. And it's telling you everything that you can do with this Explore tool, if you will. Previous to this, we always had to click identify in order to identify certain features on a map. But now we don't need to do that. It most of the time it highlights it for us. If you notice that it's not, all you have to do is click map and explore. Most of the time it defaults to this. The other thing is when it comes to pop-ups, if you click on a map and you notice that nothing pops up, like, look, when I'm clicking on this topographic map, so what is this telling me? This is telling me that this is just purely a base layer. There's no information, there's no data associated with it at all. Now, when I go ahead and click on something like this, a pop-up window is going to come. It's going to give me the data associated with that particular polygon. Now remember that this data is going to refer back to the initial and primary major database that goes with all of this spatial information. But the nice thing is that we've got the visual component and we have the data component that we're able to look at the same exact time, which is really nice. And they're really truly the gift of GIS. The other thing too here is that although US County ANC is really just super, super helpful, I think it would probably be a good idea for us to go ahead and change that name. Now, what do you feel like changing it to? Well, I don't know. Change it to counties at this point. Let's see what is recommended after we figure out what we're really doing with this data. But right now, it's a little bit easier for me to stomach if I'm just looking at a file that says counties. And the way that we change name is pretty easy. You just come over here, you click on it, and you click on it again. Quite commonly, how you do in other programs. And then you can go ahead and you can rename it. Like I said, if you want to change the color, you can always double click on it, and then symbology is going to pop up over here. You double click on the feature actually, and the symbology will pop up here. If you want to right click on the actual layer, then you can scroll down to symbology and the same thing will happen. So the nice thing is in GIS is that many roads lead to Rome. And many of my students will tell me, Angela, I feel like I'm doing something the wrong way, or I'm not doing it the right way. Well, guess what? At the end of the day, if you churn out amazing, beautiful maps that are accurate and well done, well defined, the way that you get there is really all your own. And that's why the programmers at Esri, they want to make sure that there are lots of different ways in order to get things done and not just one pathway there. So if you'd like to go ahead and change that color, you can click on the color. You can either right click or you can double click. And again, symbology is going to pop up over here, you'll see it right there. So there's lots of different ways of doing that. Or you can come up to the layer, right click on it, and then zoom down to symbology and do lots of fun stuff there as well. The other nice thing about accessing the complete attribute table is that you can do that in quite a different number of ways as well. If you are a big toolbar fan, or if that's how you came to learn about computers, you can come up here, you click on the map tab, you go into the selection window, and you can click on attributes. You can also come to the actual layer. You can right click and you can go to the attribute table. I'm sure you guys all know my preferred method of finding that. The right click is literally my best friend. Enough about that later. Oh, no, I meant to dock you. Thank you. Get you a little bit smaller over there so we can get a look at the attribute table. All right, so now what we are looking at is the entire database for this layer right here. And as we've said before, we are looking at a polygon, right? Which is mean we're looking not at a raster file, we're looking at a vector file, because our vector files are points, lines, or polygons. We're looking now at the name of the county. We're looking at a state name. So we're looking at several states. This is Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Ohio, and Indiana. See if there are other states here that I missed. No, it looks like we got them all. And what are we looking at? State FIPS, county FIPS, FIPS code, population, population square miles, population in 2010, and then we get down into demographics of race and ethnicity, age. This is all basic demographic information. We've got in the shape and the size of these polygons, who's an owner, who's a renter, how many places are vacant, how many people live in the households, median ages, and lots of good stuff like that. All right, now what we're going to go ahead and do is click on, we're going to get rid of that, and we know how to pop it back up if ever we want to see it again. Just a quick word that if ever you lose your contents panel, let's say, oop, there it went bye-bye. Where can we go ahead and grab it again? View, and you can just click on contents and it'll pop right back up again for you as well. And if you think this is too big, you can always make it a little smaller. Totally up to you. All right, so now what we're going to go ahead and do is make sure that we're on the map tab, and then we're going to move over to select by attributes. And then we're going to look for the county file. So yeah, we're definitely, because we've got that highlighted, so that's appropriate. Our input row is counties. Our selection type is going to be a new selection. And then it depends on what version of ArcGIS Pro you're working in. For some of you, there might be a button to click on that says new selection. Obviously here we don't have that. Here it just gives it for you. So here what we're going to do is if you have to click new expression, go ahead and do that. In this example, obviously we don't need to. And then you come to state name. You're going to scroll down to state name. You're going to say is equal to, and then you're going to type in Illinois. Okay. And then the expression that we've created right now is called an attribute query. So we're selecting by particular attributes for the data that we've been given. So this is going to now be a request for features in this table that meet the criteria for what the user wants. So it's called user defined criteria. Yeah, it's very fancy for pretty much what do you want? All right, now what's going to happen is that you're going to click apply and so let's say for example, the reason why they have the apply button is cuz say you wanted to do something else or you wanted to erase it so you can see what happened. No, we're happy with our results. That's exactly what we wanted to happen. So we're good and we're going to click okay. So we're okay with the fact that the Illinois counties are now highlighted in aqua. And now what we're going to do is create a feature layer from the selected set of counties. So in the contents pane, we are going to select counties again. And then from the data tab, so make sure that this is highlighted. And then we're going to come over here to the data tab. And then we're going to go into the export window or group. It all depends on what you call it. Um, Technically, if you were to take an Esri course, they call them groups. I think I'm still stuck on the whole window idea. So you go ahead and click on, you come to the export group or export window, and you're going to click on export features. And then you're going to come into some people call this like the geoprocessing pane for input features. So now we're working with geoprocessing. Again, we're going to select our counties. We have the database that we're working in because obviously this is going to be the output where our information is going to go. So what we're doing now is we're exporting the selection of a new data set because we're trying to create a new feature layer. So what do we want to call the output name? Well, we want to call it Illinois County. Illinois County. And then we are going to click OK. And then what you're going to notice is we have now created a new feature class over here. And oddly enough, they've made it the same color as everything else. The important part here is that this new output is going to be a geodatabase feature class rather than a shapefile. So for example, this county layer that we're looking at, this was purely a shapefile because the shape was represented by a polygon. Now, this Illinois county is going to be a geodatabase feature class. And by default, all processing outputs are saved to a project geodatabase. And the conversion from shapefile to geodatabase feature class is really done by, in the background, by ArcGIS Pro. Now, what we want to do is we're working to clean everything up and we want to remove the old shapefile. So, because we've gotten all this great information, it's fabulous. It was given to us in a shapefile, and now we don't need it because we've created this new database file for ourselves. So we are going to zoom to the extent of the Illinois county layer. So we're going to go ahead and click on it. And we're going to go ahead and zoom to that layer. Man, that looks great, doesn't it? And now what we are going to change it to is strictly Illinois. And then if you want to recall how to get rid of a feature class or a layer, you right click and come up to remove. So everything else is gone now. So if you want to go ahead and zoom out, you come up to the map, and remember it always defaults to this explore option. And then you use your roller to go ahead and zoom in and zoom out. Now, if you're not liking the color, you can go ahead and, like I've said before, change the colors. Ooh, that was interesting. I'm not sure I'm digging that. Okay. So remember that if you do something that you don't like, you can always go back using this feature. Okay, so now we've pretty much done everything we needed to do. We know that if we would like to change something, how we can do that using our symbology. If we want to right click and change anything else, we can bring up symbology over here and alter pretty much anything we want to do. We can label it, we can change the color. We can change this color if we would like to do that. We can change the outline color. So basically our processing is complete, and we've created a project and we added 2 data sets, which now we've got, this is a non-spatial data set right here that includes county demographic statistics. But because we're interested in only the state of Illinois, we selected the counties with the state name field of Illinois, and we exported those features to the new feature class, which now we have as Illinois. So in future exercises, we're going to go ahead and work with the same database, and we're going to join the obesity statistics here that you're looking at to this Illinois county attribute table so that we can see the obesity data on a map. Because remember, right now, this data is non-space, represented non-spatially. We can still go ahead and click on these areas, and it will tell us all of the particular information for those. And then again, if we just want to take a look at the main attribute table for all of it, we can go ahead and do that. And then what you'll notice is that the only thing on here now is Illinois. All the other state, all that other information from the database is gone.